Welcome to French Grammar Lessons number 7 by myself, Mr. Crucides. This is a lesson on the imperfect tense. As I always say, you can't learn a verb tense in French if you don't know what it is in English. Absolutely pointless, complete waste of time. So what is the imperfect tense in English? Well, the imperfect tense can be translated, we use it in two ways to describe an event that was happening or used to happen. So for example, she was playing, she used to play, they were swimming, they used to swim. Any verb you can put in the imperfect tense. Let's choose one at random. Drink. I was drinking, I used to drink. So I was verb ing, or I used to verb. That's the imperfect tense. To form the imperfect tense, you need the verb stem, add the appropriate ending. Easy. But the complication is, how do you get to the verb stem and what are the endings? Well, first of all, let's look at the endings. The endings are very, very easy if you already understand the conditional tense. The conditional tense is the would tense. They're exactly the same, these endings. AIS, AIS, AIT, IONS, IEZ, AIENT. So if you know these endings, you pretty much have two verb tenses for the price of one. For the conditional tense, the would tense, you add these endings onto an infinitive. But for the imperfect tense, the was playing or used to play tense, you add them on to the verb stem. So the verb stem. So to get the verb stem, find the new form of the present tense and take off the ONS. Now that's easy to say, but that's very hard to do in practice, because I can imagine that a lot of you out there are unable to decline verbs in the present tense. And if you can't decline a verb in the present tense, you won't be able to get to the new form. And if you can't get to the new form, then you can't take off an ONS to find the verb stem. So I have done a lesson, I think it's lesson number 2, about the present tense. So if you can conjugate an ER, an IR and an RE verb, at least, then you'll be able to be able to transfer verbs into the imperfect tense with relative ease. So here's an ER verb: je regarde, tu regardes, il regarde, nous regardons, vous regardez, il regarde. So I said the verb stem is the new form minus the ONS. So the new form, nous regardons, take off the ONS, you're left with REGARD. There's a stem, add the endings on afterwards: AIS, AIS, AIT, etc., etc. A cheats method for the ER verb is just take off the ER. You've got the stem that way as well. But that doesn't work for all verbs. RE verbs. Here's the present tense of an RE verb, like vendre, to sell. Je vends, tu vends, il vend. Nous vendons, vous vendez, ils vendent. Go to the new form, take off the ONS, you're left with vend, V-E-N-D, that's the stem. Add the imperfect endings onto that stem, that's the imperfect tense. A cheats method for an RE verb, take off the RE, you've got the stem. So actually that means for the ER and the RE verbs, you can quickly get to the verb stem just by taking off the infinitive ending, the ER or the RE. Here's an IR verb: je finis, tu finis, il finit, nous finissons, vous finissez, ils finissent. Now this is a bit more complicated. Go to the new form, nous finissons. The ending is ils sont, but remember, all we have to do is take off the ONS. So the verb stem is finis, F-I-N-I-S-S. Now if you remember, the cheats method for the ER and the IR verbs was that you could get the stem simply by taking off the infinitive ending, but that doesn't work for IR verbs. If you take off the IR, you're just left with fin, F-I-N. That is not the verb stem. The verb stem is finis. So if you only want to remember one rule for a verb stem then that fits every verb, then remember this: the verb stem is the new form of the present tense minus the ONS. If you want to remember it a different way, you can remember it this way: for ER and RE verbs, take off the ER and the RE for the stem, and for IR verbs, take the ONS off the new form. But now you're having to remember two separate rules rather than just one standard rule, which is new form, present tense, minus the ONS, add the imperfect endings AIS, AIS, AIT, etc., etc. So here we have the imperfect tense in action: Je regardais, tu regardais, il regardait, Nous regardions, vous regardiez, il regardait. So a lot of them sound exactly the same. The first, second, third singular, as well as the third plural, all sound exactly the same. So can you decline visiter in the imperfect tense, or parler, or acheter? Just pick one at random. Can you decline it, ideally without looking? I'm going to choose the verb danser. Imperfect tense goes je dansais, tu dansais, il dansait, nous dansions, vous dansiez, il dansait. Choose another word that's like vendre in the RE group. Can you decline it like je vendais, tu vendais, il vendait, nous vendions, vous vendiez, il vendait? And for the IR verbs that are a little bit different compared to the others, so choisir would be je choisissais, tu choisissais, il choisissait, nous choisissions, vous choisissiez, il choisissait. A lot of double S's in that one, which makes it a bit tricky, but yeah, see if you can pick another one and decline it in the same way, ideally without looking. So learn a model, and all the other verbs in that verb group act in exactly the same way. So I used to play, I was playing, je jouais. There's the verb jouer. So there's the subject, je. Find the verb stem, take the ONS from nous jouons, you're left with jou, J-O-U, and add the ending AIS. Simple. Formation of the French imperfect tense for verbs which are irregular. Luckily, in the imperfect tense, there's only one irregular verb, the verb être. All you have to do is you add the imperfect tense endings onto the stem of et. So it goes j'étais, tu étais, il était, nous étions, vous étiez, ils étaient. Remember what the rule was to form the verb stem. Take the ONS from the new form of the present tense. Well, what is the new form of the present tense of the verb être anyway? It's nous sommes. There's no ONS to take off, so obviously this verb is never going to work. So just remember, the imperfect tense, you add the ending onto the verb stem. The only verb which does not fit this pattern is être, and you add the imperfect endings onto et. Simple. Okay, so can you translate these from French to English? Grab a piece of paper or say them out loud. Why not press pause before I give you the answers? Okay, here are the answers. So as you can see, don't forget the imperfect tense can be translated two ways. I was playing, used to play, I was watching, I used to watch, etc. Okay, here are some from English into French. Why not press pause again, grab a scrap of paper and just scribble down some answers. Remember, to form the imperfect tense, verb stem plus the ending. AIS, AIS, AIT, IONS, IEZ, AIENT. And remember, the verb stem is the new form of the present tense minus the ONS. Here are the answers. J'écoutais, je visitais, elle faisait, nous jouions, il or elle faisait, elle habitait, elle habitait. So I've tried to trick you there by putting she used to live and she was living, trying to trick you into thinking that that was be translated in a different way, but they're translated in exactly the same way. Il ou elle gagnait, elle regardait, tu arrivais, vous jouiez, il achetait, il finissait. There we go. So hopefully you did okay there. The only one that might have been a bit tricky was the il finissait, because it's from the IR group, where it's a little bit more tricky to find the verb stem. A few things about just translating the imperfect tense. The verb être, I suppose strictly speaking, I said the imperfect tense was I used to verb, I was verbing. For example, I was playing, I used to play. So if you're using the verb to be, you could translate it as I was being, I used to be. For example, last night I was being stupid. When I was young, I used to be very stupid. But sometimes the easiest way to translate the imperfect tense of this particular verb was just with the word was or were. I was, you were, he was, we were, you were, they were. Just translate it with whatever makes more natural sense in English. Avoir, again, j'avais, tu avais, il avait, nous avions, vous aviez, ils avaient, should be translated truly using the imperfect tenses I was having, I used to have. I can't think of an example now, but anyway, so probably more natural English just to translate it as I had. Okay, in year 7, I used to have lessons at 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, you might be more natural to say I had. I don't know. Whatever makes more natural sense in English is the best translation. Devoir, the verb to have to or must. Je devais, tu devais, il devait, nous devions, vous deviez, il devait. Oops, a bit of a mistake there. I don't know why that E accent is in front of the devait. Just ignore that. Apologies. Literally can be translated as I was having to, I used to have to. When I was small, I used to have to wake up at 9 o'clock. But it might be better English to translate that imperfect tense as I had to. Pouvoir, the verb to be able to, or can. Je pouvais, tu pouvais, il pouvait, nous pouvions, vous pouviez, il pouvait. Literally as I was being able to, or I used to be able to. Again, it sounds a bit clumsy in English, so it might be easy just to translate it as I could. And imperfect tense of vouloir, je voulais, tu voulais, il voulait, nous voulions, vous vouliez, il voulait. I was wanting, I used to want, but probably in many situations it might be easier and less clumsy to translate it as just I wanted. So recap of the imperfect tense. To say that you or somebody else used to do something or you were doing something, use the imperfect tense. To form the imperfect tense, you need to know how to form the verb stem. The verb stem, remember, is the new form of the present tense with the ONS removed. And then you add the imperfect endings, which are AIS, AIS, AIT, IONS, IEZ, AIENT. One exception is the irregular verb être, and you add those imperfect endings onto the stem ET. Okay, so that's it.